So you tell me a little bit about yourself.
So I am an attorney, and I also started a nonprofit organization. So I'm an entrepreneur, and my husband is a private chef, and he has his own business, same entrepreneur. So we are kind of, I would say we fall kind of in the missing middle, like we're in the middle class.
Mhm.
We live comfortably, but we are by no means wealthy. And so I think that was like the number one challenge of purchasing a home, is not having a bunch of cash in
Mhm.
hand to kind of beat out other offers. So we got married last year, and we started our home buying process, right? Started to look at homes and such last year. Probably around, I would say maybe May, right before we got married. We kind of just loosely started looking at what was available, watching the market a bit. And then we started getting a little more aggressive around August. So our strategy was, we did not want PMI. We wanted to have 20% to put down, and
Mhm.
also not like break the bank either. So we wanted to have a bit of a cushion and make sure that we're like being smart about this.
And you're
Me,
in
my
and you're in California, right?
Yeah, so we're in Oceanside now. We just moved last week, like you said. We were
Southern
living in
California.
Encinitas. Yeah, we were living in Encinitas, which we actually got priced out of even in the rental market. And then we moved to Carlsbad, which is the next town over. And then we kind of were knowing that that was going to be a short-term
Mhm.
situation. And then we were very fortunate to find the home that we just moved into. Um, but I myself had purchased a condo in Miami. I'm from Miami, Florida. So I had purchased a condo in Miami. I lived in the condo. I was working as an attorney, and yeah, it was really nice and plush. And then I kind of just made a radical life decision to move to California. And at that time, so I purchased the condo 2006. I left to California 2007. I had a renter lined up.
Yeah.
It was covering my mortgage. I had a first and a second. I had a HELOC as a second, and it was covering my mortgage, and it was great. It was covering my HOA and all the things. And then the recession hit, and Miami was one of the worst hit real estate markets. And in 2009, I found myself upside down. And so it was basically like cut and run. My choices were keep throwing money into a hole or file for bankruptcy. And I had just started my business, and I really wanted, I saw a lot of potential in my business, and knew that I was capable of thriving in that way. If I kind of like cut, if I cut the fat that was really holding me down. It was like sandbags, right? So I filed for bankruptcy in 2009. And then yeah, I basically made a very conscious decision. Once that happened, for me it was like a big failure. I made a conscious decision to like learn and move forward, and just
Mhm.
not look back at what happened. So yeah, I basically had made a decision also at that time that I wasn't going to purchase. There was a bit of trauma associated with it all. So I made a decision that I wasn't going to purchase like as an individual again. Like I would purchase once I had a family, or I got married and there was dual income.
Mhm.
So fast forward to where we are now. Like I said, we got married. We're kind of like ready for the next step. I decided not to have children of my own. My husband came in with a son, so I have a stepson. He's with us half the time. So we had certain considerations for our family. Of course, we have a dog as well. And then but on the other hand, it wasn't like we made this decision because like I wanted to be pregnant and have babies, which is a big
Right.
reason I think why people decide that they want to purchase a home. I think for us it was just the natural next step. We were kind of tired of throwing money into somebody else's pocket.
Mhm.
We wanted to have our own asset. And then I think also a big part of it was just being tired of being at the mercy of landlords, and like basically like when we lost our rental in Encinitas in '08. I mean, I'm sorry, in 2021.
Mhm.
It was post COVID. The rental market had skyrocketed, and all of a sudden we were like, what the hell? We were left out in the cold.
Yeah.
Moving sucks. Everybody knows that.
Yep.
So the idea was, we're only going to move one more time after this, when we moved into our second rental in Carlsbad. So our goal was just to kind of hang on as much as we could, to that place and live comfortably. We weren't in a place of despair, which was very lucky too. I know a lot of people are in the market and they're kind of like, you know, in a tough situation because they have to move by a certain date or whatnot. But we were not in that circumstance. Our landlord was very kind about, let us know whenever you do purchase, and so that circumstance actually made it really, like, it took a lot of the pressure off. So we basically brought on a realtor. We worked with one realtor for a few months last year, and then we kind of hit pause. And it's kind of a complicated circumstance, but I'll explain it very briefly. My mother had passed away. My grandmother had passed away. I was expecting a certain like a wedding gift, I will say, from the estates,
Mhm.
and we had a bit of a delay because of probate. We ended up, they both passed without wills, and so we had to go through probate, and so that was a whole another complicated matter. So basically that was going to keep us from having our PMI, or our 20%, so
Got
that
it,
we
yeah.
could avoid that PMI.
Mhm.
So we kind of hit a little bit of a pause, and then we resumed once that money came in. We were like, okay, we're back. And so that was probably around January, February of last year. I'm sorry, January, February of this year.
Yeah.
And so we actually started working with a different realtor, and he both are good friends, good friends of mine, people I knew from before. But one of them was a really, really dear friend of mine. I was kind of against working with a realtor that was like really close to me because
Okay.
I don't know, I just didn't want the business relationship to have an effect on the friendship. And so,
Right.
anyways, long story short, we worked with a new realtor. He started kind of aggressively showing us homes. We were pre-approved at a certain amount with our mortgage broker, who was also a friend. And then we made the mistake of filing our taxes without consulting with our mortgage broker. Something that I think people should know is a huge no-no, right? So
Okay.
we
Yeah.
were pre-approved for a certain amount last year, especially when you have your own business.
Yeah.
Our strategy with taxes was tax savings. And we, with our own businesses, like, there are really good vehicles and mechanisms to be able to save on taxes.
Mhm.
um However, when it comes to lending, that is not, that's not really necessarily the smartest route to
Right.
go. So all of a sudden we talked to our mortgage broker. We're like, we both made more last year than we did the prior year. Now that we filed our taxes, what are we qualifying for? Thinking we were going to go up, and it turns out that we went down in what we were pre-approved for. So
Got it.
that created a whole, like, very traumatic situation for us. We had been looking very aggressively. We had actually put some offers in as well. The process of home buying for us was really challenging. I feel like it should be this really amazing and exciting time in your life when you're like looking for a new home. For
Right.
us, it was heart-wrenching, it was disheartening, it was depressing, because every time we'd come home and fall in love with a place, somebody came in and outbid us, or was offering way over market, or paying all cash. And so that put us in a situation where we were always like on kind of the defense.
Yeah.
We were never in the driver's seat. So that was very frustrating. Our realtor did a really good job at holding our hands and keeping us motivated. And then we worked with our mortgage broker. Um, Basically, the options were, we can amend our taxes, to yeah, basically the
Yeah.
options were amend our taxes, or we could wait until the next tax year. And we kind of made a decision, because it was going to be very costly to amend our taxes. We made a decision to wait until the next tax year, so that we could, go into it with a home lending strategy instead of a
Mhm.
tax saving strategy. So basically, we stopped looking in May. We looked, yeah, from about January to May. We stopped looking in May. We then started looking. I mean, we were looking very casually, like, we were still getting the emails from our realtor, once a week, what's on the
Yeah.
market. We would look very casually, but we never went to go see places. We were like, you know what? Let's not torture ourselves. This is already super hard. And then I believe in I'm like kind of a little bit hokey and spiritual, but I believe in the power of threes. And so I happened to go on Redfin, like, my once a month that I'd go on just to see what the market was doing. I
Right.
happened to go on Redfin, saw this property coming soon, and I was like, oh, that looks pretty cool. And it was in the area we were looking for. And then next thing you know, a realtor that I know just from the community posted that he's listing this home, and it was the same home. And then next thing I know, I'm getting an email from my realtor as this home being one of the homes. So it was
Oh,
like the power of three thing, you know?
yeah.
So for me, it's just like, hey, Becky, pay attention, right? And so when things happen in threes for me, that's like, that's my thing. So so anyways, I was like, let's just go see it. And we called our realtor, like dusted off the cobwebs. We hadn't talked to him in months. And we were like, we want to go see this place. And he's like, let's go see it. So we come see it. We have really no expectations because we're like, we don't qualify for the loan right now that we need to get this place.
Hmm.
So we came and we saw it. We absolutely fell in love with it. There was no question. This felt really different than the other ones that we also fell in love with. This
Yeah.
was like, this place was made for us. Like this place was made for us. So we came, and it was in the budget of what we had been looking at before we realized that we were not pre-approved for what we needed. So
Mhm.
we called the mortgage broker and we were like, what do we need to do to make this happen? And he basically said we just explored other avenues, other types of loans to be able to lock the house down. And our mortgage broker is he's a very funny guy. But he's always like, his whole thing is like, you date your mortgage, you marry your house.
I've
And
heard that
so
before.
yeah. So yeah, and so he would just be like, don't worry about the mortgage. That's going to change. So when we basically told him like, we need to make this happen. Like if you don't help us make this happen, like we're going to figure out another way to make it happen. So like give us all the options and we don't care about how high the interest is. So we ended up purchasing the home on a bank statement loan. I'm not sure if that's the technical term for it, but
Hmm.
basically because we have our own businesses and the businesses are lucrative, and profitable, they were able to take our bank statements from our businesses and our individual bank statements and use that to give us the loan to
Hmm.
know that we're good for it, obviously, but at a little bit of a higher interest rate than you
Yeah.
get from a conventional loan. So, that's where we're at right now. So we decided to pull the trigger. We're so happy we did. We are paying a really high interest rate at the moment, and really that high interest rate is just compounded by the home price, right? Like it's
Hmm.
like that it makes a difference because the home is expensive. You're looking at like $1 million home,
Yeah.
and we got this one for just shy of $1 million. We were looking in the 1.1 range before.
Yeah.
So just to kind of give you an idea. So yeah, we were able to close. We did a 45-day close. We moved last week and we're in. I'm talking to you from my
And
from my office.
and here you are. Yeah. And
Yeah.
I really think again it's like important because like you live in San Diego, I live in San Diego, like Oceanside, yes, but San Diego is the most expensive city. We have the most expensive housing. So when you say a million, you and I don't even bat an eye, which is a little absurd
Yes.
because all over the US that is not homes are not $1 million, right? They
Yeah.
are. So it's all relative, obviously, but home prices nationally are still up like 52% or some, I think
That's
it's
insane. That's insane. And I did
no
see
matter
like,
where you live. But I
yeah,
just want to make sure, for everyone watching, like we're in San Diego, we are in Southern California. This is expensive. Things are
it's
expensive.
expensive. And also there's the other side of it where it's like all of a sudden we have an asset that's pretty much not going to depreciate. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So I think that's the other perspective that we were able to look at straight away. Where like in Miami, I purchased a condo that went down in value significantly, almost in half, and that's why I had to cut and run.
Right.
So it's like now it's like we're looking at a market where we're very fortunate where there's not a lot of inventory and there's a huge demand. So almost
Mhm.
everybody I know that's in my age range that is, newly married, anything like that, are on the hunt for a home and are in the same. It's these conversations are happening over and over again amongst the same types of people who are young, not even young professionals. I'm 43. Like I'm not, it depends on who you ask, right? My 15-year-old,
Right.
our 15-year-old stepson doesn't think that we're young, but
Right.
in relation, I feel young, but
No, yeah.
we're we're still, we're not in our later stages of life. So, I think when you talk to anybody who's in that mid 30s to mid 40s range, we're having the same exact conversations. Like, we're the lucky ones, I feel like now. But it took us a long time, I think, to get here. A long time of like very consistent hustle and struggle. And, like I said, a lot of letdowns. I think we got lucky that the rates went so high where it really, really started to deter people. And for us, the interest rate wasn't as much of an issue because we came in, we knew we were going to be like, we're going to be at this, we're going to be tight for 6 months until we can refinance. And the hope is, the trend is typically on election years or whatever the reasons may be, that interest rates start to come down. I think they already came down into the sixes this last week. So you just kind of never know what could happen. So we came in, we're taking a risk in the sense too, but it's a very calculated risk where we do have a cushion, and we have safety measures in place so that we're not putting ourselves and making ourselves house poor,
Right.
Honestly,
Okay.
to
So,
make it less painful, God, if there was more property, I think that would be an
more
easy
inventory.
way.
Yeah.
More inventory, if there were more properties to sell. And if there were more people selling properties, because right now the only people that we saw that were selling were either house flippers or people that had moved away or people that had passed away.
Right.
So all the homes that we put offers on, that's where we were. The home that we purchased, the homeowners built this amazing sanctuary and then they moved away. So it's like that'll be the those are the reasons people are getting out of their low interest mortgage rates right now to go into either something higher. And I think the people that we purchased from, I believe that they went into something that they had bought pre-construction. So it's not even like they're going into a new high interest rate, like they had already financed it somehow. So
Okay.
yeah.
And I always like, I don't remember, I was talking to somebody, a professional that was, everyone's talking about like everyone's frozen in their homes because anyone who bought like at a 5% mortgage rate, like it's unbelievable to buy at like an 8%, right? But but so you've already bought a house before at a particular, I'm sure lower interest rate than
Very low.
8%, but like your husband hasn't. So a lot of that, could that be mindset too? It's like, well, you don't know any different, so let's do it. It's 8%, let's do it, right? Like, was
Yeah.
there any talk around that in terms of just like expectation?
I think really it comes down to numbers because, when I bought my condo, it was like 8%. It wasn't 8%, but my condo was like, when I bought it was like 300K, so
Yeah.
8% on that is nothing.
Right.
When you put 8% on $1 million, like that's a lot. And
Mhm.
we're right now at an 8.65% rate,
Yeah.
hopefully for only 6 months until we can
Yeah.
refinance. But that's where we're at right now. And I mean, it's gonna, if the rates drop to below 6, like we're gonna be saving $1,500 a month, like
Right.
it's a significant difference. So,
Totally.
I think that's really what it comes down to is the money, like whatever that percentage of interest rate is, it's can you afford that?
Right.
Like something may be affordable to somebody at $1 million when it's 4 or 5% interest rate, but all of a sudden you bring it up to 8% and you're like, there's no way. Like it does really compound. So,
Right.
that was tricky. And then you also did ask me earlier about the social issues, or was there anything like kind of social? And I think, it's interesting. I'm from Miami, and when I go back to Miami, all of my friends married young, had babies young. So they're all like, had been in their homes and established and everything from pretty young. My brother is a great example. Decided to move, has two girls that are 8 and 10,
Mhm.
and decided to move just last year, and did the whole home purchase thing. The Miami market is hot right now as well. That's another market that kind of has blown up, and it's kind of almost become unaffordable to rent. For me,
Mhm.
I was like telling him, why, like, keep the old house, rent it out, because you're gonna make double your mortgage, and then buy this house as well. But the fact of the matter is that some people just don't have, you just don't have that disposable cash to
Right.
be able to
Right.
come in at a 20%.
Most people do not.
Exactly. And so, they like, I've seen and had different experiences with different types um of couples in different circumstances, and also individuals that are saying, oh, I just want to purchase and do an Airbnb, and do like short-term rentals in this home.
Yeah.
Or I have a friend who just purchased in San Clemente last week, and she's single. She has a great job, but she's single, purchased a gut job. Like, that's the other thing too. We purchased this home and it was turnkey. Like, we literally didn't even have to paint walls. Like, they had their cleaners come before we moved in, like
Good.
it was just
Yeah.
the most perfect circumstance. Whereas like many people who are going into new home purchases are having to purchase things that they have to renovate because
Right.
that's the way they could afford it. And that's
Right.
also quite challenging as well. So we toyed when we were going through the process. We were like, we would love something that's move-in ready. Obviously, also because my husband's a chef, needs the kitchen. That's his job, his livelihood. And I work from home. We can't just have construction all the time. And we
Right.
kind of couldn't afford to have like a rental and then also a mortgage.
Mm-hmm.
So we were looking for something particular where we were like, okay, we can suffer for a little bit if we need to. So we kind of started looking at like, I don't want to say tear downs, but houses that needed a little more love. And we
Yeah.
got very lucky that we moved into somewhere where it's like we couldn't have put a more perfect home inside of the home that we're in. So we
Right.
literally don't have to do anything. But that's not the circumstance for many people. And thinking about that too, I think that's a huge consideration financially, is like my friend who just bought in San Clemente,
Yeah.
she's living in her rental while she's renovating her new place that's going to take 2 to 3 months. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, and then you're paying for the renovation too. So it's like, how do you
Yeah.
finance all that stuff? Like, to me, I'm
So
just like, it's insane.
I don't know. And so I was literally reading a Reddit thread today, and it was the subgroup was subreddit was first time home buyers. And there's like 100 comments from people about how they got the keys, but now they've spent so much time like wandering through Home Depot because they have so many things to fix. And then a whole separate, like literally a whole separate like comment thread went off about how they just need like a bar in the back of Home Depot where everyone can commiserate and be sad because they don't have any money to fix up their new home, right? Or they need like a support group in Home Depot. Like, it's a real thing that
100%.
some people don't think about. It's all about like making sure the math works out with like the taxes and the mortgage and the price, but no one really talks a ton about like, okay, well, there's going to be unexpected fixing costs,
Oh
whatever
yeah.
those.
Well, and not even that. It's like, okay, purchasing the home, putting a down payment, paying the closing costs, and then the expenses of moving.
Oh yes,
And
and
that's
then
a
the moving.
whole nother thing. Like, that's like we got lucky, and we still were like caught off guard by the amount that we've had to spend in just the moving expenses. Like, when you're moving out of a rental, it's like you got to pay the cleaning ladies to do a deep clean. You got to get the carpet steam cleaned. You got to do things there to get your deposit back or whatever. And then you move, you come into your home, and there's all these things that you're
Yeah.
just like, oh, all of a sudden our couch, it doesn't really fit here. Like, we need a new couch. We were lucky we moved right before Black Friday, and I'm not a Black Friday shopper. I'm an opt outside type of
You're an
person.
REI. You believe in the
Yes,
REI. Yeah.
exactly. Like, go outside, go in nature, don't shop. And
Yeah.
then, but this Black Friday, we spent shopping for couches, and like, and Cyber Monday, we were all over the deals because we're like, we need the discounts right now. It's a really, I mean, obviously in this economy as well, but aside from that, it's like, this is our money, our hard earned money. Like, we don't just want to like
Mhm.
piss it away. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, I honestly, I feel like I'm now one of the lucky ones that I used to look at and be like, you're so lucky. And like, we are so fortunate. And I feel so grateful, but also like, we are getting reamed with our rate. You know what I mean? Like, so it's like, really depends on who you ask,
I Yeah, it really depends on who you ask. Like I said, it's all about like expectation and like mindset. And that's why I like to talk to different home buyers or potential home buyers, existing home buyers, because it's like everyone says something different, you
Hmm.
know? Like not completely different, but it is all about mindset. Like boomers who bought at a 3%, like $100,000 house, are like, I would never buy at an 8% rate. But first time home buyers who don't know the difference, who just want to get in, right? Like I wrote down too, you said we're only going to move one more time. I've heard that a lot. Like I don't want to move anymore. We're only going to move one more time.
No. Yeah.
Like that's like a declaration from these people who are renting that just want to buy a house. Like enough
Yeah.
is enough. I only want to move one more time, you know?
When you think about it too, you're like,